Hello, sleepy thinkers, and welcome to Sleepy Science Teller, a place where we slow down, breathe deeply, and let our curiosity carry us gently into sleep. Tonight, we explore one of the most timeless and mysterious questions of all. Why does anything exist at all? So settle in, let your shoulders relax, close your eyes if you wish, and let the soft rhythm of discovery guide your thoughts. Like ripples spreading across a still pond, for centuries, philosophers, scientists, and dreamers alike have gazed into the night sky and wondered, why is there something instead of nothing? Why does the universe exist? Why do we exist? And could there ever have been absolute emptiness? It's a question that sits quietly at the edge of human understanding, gentle, mysterious, and endlessly deep, before we drift further into tonight's journey. Tell me, where are you listening from right now? And what time is it in your corner of the universe? You can softly share it in the comment below. I love knowing how far our sleepy discoveries travel. And while you're here, if this calm space helps you relax, please gently tap the like button and subscribe so you can join me on our next quiet adventure through the cosmos. Have you ever paused quietly and wondered why anything exists at all? Why the world around you, the air you breathe, the stars far beyond sight, are even here? It's a question so vast that it feels older than time itself, a question that hums softly in the background of all human thought. Philosophers have asked it, scientists have measured around it, and poets have felt it in their bones. When we look at the world, we see countless things, trees, oceans, people, stars, but behind all of it, there's a deeper mystery, the mystery of being itself. Why is there something rather than nothing? It's not just a question about how the universe began. It's about why there's a universe to begin with. It's the quiet heartbeat behind every other question humanity has ever asked. If you sit still and listen carefully to the silence around you, you might feel it, that gentle wonder, that soft awe, the realization that the fact you're even here, thinking these thoughts, is something truly extraordinary. Because if the universe had chosen nothingness, you wouldn't be here to ask, to see, to feel. Yet you are. So what is existence? Where does it come from? And why does it insist on being, instead of fading into the impossible void of nothing? Some thinkers call this the ultimate question, because if we could truly answer it, we'd understand everything else. The physicist Stephen Hawking once asked, what is it that breathes fire into the equations and makes a universe for them to describe? He was pointing to that same quiet riddle, the one that lies beneath every star, every life, every breath. Existence is not just an object or a place. It's a presence, the hum that allows everything else to be possible. Even the simplest thing, like the light from your lamp, is a reminder that the universe has chosen to be. Sometimes late at night when the world is still, you might sense it, that deep, trembling feeling of wonder that says, I'm here in a vast, existing universe. And that alone is almost too beautiful to understand. To explore existence, we must also brush gently against its opposite, nothingness. Imagine, if you can, the total absence of everything. No sound, no light, no time, no memory, not even the darkness, because darkness, too, is something. It's impossible, isn't it? Our minds try to grasp the idea, but like water in our hands, it slips away. Even nothing becomes something the moment we imagine it. This is one of the strangest truths about the mystery of existence. That true nothingness may be impossible to even think about, The philosopher Martin Heidegger once said, "The fundamental question of metaphysics is, why is there something rather than nothing?" He believed that nothingness is not simply an absence. It's part of what makes existence meaningful. Without the concept of nothing, we couldn't even define something. So maybe existence and nothingness are like two sides of one delicate coin, forever linked, forever dancing in and out of meaning. Imagine standing on the shore of a vast cosmic ocean, where one side is a reality we know, stars, atoms, life, and the other is that silent, formless void we call nothing. The line between them is mysterious, blurry, almost dreamlike, and perhaps existence is not a choice or an event, but a continuous emergence, a shimmering wave that rises again and again, refusing to vanish. In modern physics, even the emptiest regions of space are not truly empty. They're filled with energy, fields, and possibilities. Tiny particles flicker in and out of being, as if the universe itself cannot stand still. So maybe the mystery of existence lies here, in the simple truth that reality cannot help but be, that perhaps existence is a natural state, and nothing is only a fleeting illusion we imagine when we try to think beyond what the universe allows. Even when all else fades, the stars, the galaxies, the whispers of time, there will still be something, some field, some energy, some potential, quietly existing, waiting to awaken again. And in that endless cycle, existence becomes not a question to solve, but a wonder to feel. Let's step back now and think of you, sitting, listening, breathing slowly, alive within the sea of existence. The atoms in your body were once part of ancient stars. Every cell, every breath, every heartbeat is a pattern that the universe chose to make. Isn't that extraordinary? That the same laws that shaped galaxies also shaped your hands, your eyes, your thoughts. You are a small, conscious echo of the cosmos, and through you, the universe wonders about itself. When you look at the stars, you're not just observing existence, you're participating in it. You are a fragment of this vast mystery, and your awareness of being alive is perhaps the purest form of existence there is. Maybe that's part of the answer. Maybe the question, why does anything exist at all, isn't just cosmic, it's personal. Because within every living being, existence finds a way to notice itself. To whisper, I am. Think of a newborn baby opening its eyes for the first time, seeing light, color, and motion. That first instant of awareness is existence realizing itself all over again. And every sunrise, every gentle breath of wind, every quiet thought that passes through your mind is a tiny celebration of that same miracle. We don't yet know why existence is here. Maybe we never will. But perhaps the mystery isn't meant to be solved, only appreciated. Because in that appreciation, that soft, humble awe, we find something sacred. The simple, undeniable truth that we are here, that the universe exists, and somehow, so do we. As you let that thought settle in your mind, you may feel a deep calm spreading through you, a sense that everything, the stars above, the earth beneath, and a quiet awareness inside you are all part of the same timeless flow of being. And that, perhaps, is the real secret. To find peace not in the answer, but in the wonder. Close your eyes and try to imagine nothing. Not darkness, not emptiness, not even space. No stars, no sound, no time ticking quietly in the background. No thoughts, no feelings, just Nothing. It's impossible, isn't it? Because the very moment you try to imagine nothing, your mind fills it with something, a black void, a quiet silence, a faint awareness of the attempt itself. Even when we try to imagine nothingness, we are still thinking, still existing, and that in itself makes it something. This is the strange beauty of the human mind. We can never truly touch the concept of nothing. We can only circle around it, feeling its edges like mist, knowing that it slips through our grasp the moment we reach out. Philosophers have struggled with this idea for centuries. They've said that nothingness is not simply the absence of things, but the absence of even the possibility of things. No space to hold them, no laws to guide them, no awareness to notice them. But if there was truly nothing, how could something ever emerge from it? How could the universe begin? And yet here we are, floating on a tiny planet, in a vast, luminous cosmos, talking about nothing. That paradox lies at the heart of existence itself. To understand why there is something, we must first peer softly into this impossible idea, the idea of nothingness. Maybe it was never truly real. Maybe nothing has never existed at all. Maybe it's just a shadow of our language, a word we use to describe the places where light hasn't yet reached. In physics, even the deepest vacuum is not truly empty. It hums with invisible energy, fields fluctuating, particles appearing and disappearing, as though the universe refuses to rest. So perhaps nothingness is not an absence, but a stillness, a pause, a cosmic breath drawn in before creation begins. And maybe that breath, that fragile quiet, is where everything we know was waiting to be born. Let's drift now into the scientific side of this mystery. When scientists speak of nothing, they often mean a vacuum, a region of space completely empty of matter. But even that vacuum isn't truly nothing, because space itself is something. It has shape, it has energy, it can bend and ripple. The great physicist Lawrence Krauss once said, "Nothing is unstable." What he meant was that even in the emptiest possible universe, there are still laws, the laws of physics, and those laws can create something from nothing. In quantum theory, the vacuum isn't silent. It's alive with tiny fluctuations, bursts of energy that appear and vanish in unimaginably short moments. These are called quantum fluctuations. They happen everywhere, all the time. Imagine an ocean of invisible waves, each wave rising for just a moment, then sinking back into stillness. That is what empty space truly is, a restless sea of possibilities. Some scientists believe that our entire universe might have begun as one of these fluctuations, a sudden, random burst of energy, so powerful, so perfectly balanced, that it inflated into everything. Galaxies, stars, planets, and us. If that's true, then nothingness was never truly nothing. It was a pregnant silence, a quiet waiting, full of potential energy, just like a seed that looks still from the outside, but holds within it the power to create life. In this way, the universe might not have needed a cause. It may have simply arisen because the laws of nature allowed it to, because even when there was nothing, there was still the possibility of something. And perhaps that's what nothingness truly is. Not a void, but a canvas, a cosmic background on which reality paints itself. Again and again, think of a blank page before words are written, or the silence between two notes of music. That silence, that pause, is what makes the melody meaningful. Without nothingness, existence would have nowhere to begin. no space to expand into, no contrast to give it depth. So maybe nothingness and existence aren't enemies at all. Maybe they are partners, dancing together at the edge of creation, beyond science. The idea of nothingness touches something deeply human. Our fear, our wonder, our quiet longing to understand where we came from. For many spiritual traditions, nothingness isn't seen as a void, but as a kind of sacred stillness, a peace before the first sound, a calm before the universe awakens. In Buddhism, for instance, the concept of sunyata, or emptiness, is not seen as despair, but as a realization that all things are connected and that nothing exists in isolation. In this sense, nothingness is not the absence of life, but the space that makes life possible, like the silence that lets you hear the music or the night sky that allows the stars to shine. The Taoist philosophers of ancient China spoke of Wu, the eternal nothing from which all things arise and return. They said, being is born of non-being, meaning that even existence itself depends on that gentle, formless background that we call nothing. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? That even if all things end, what remains is not destruction, but a kind of quiet wholeness. When we die, the atoms in our bodies return to the earth, to the air, to the stars, and the space we leave behind is not empty. It holds a memory of our being, the ripples of our presence. So maybe nothing is not to be feared. Maybe it's a soft pillow that existence rests upon, a gentle foundation beneath the endless unfolding of reality. When you lie in bed at night and close your eyes, you might feel that same quiet nothingness surrounding you. It's not frightening. It's peaceful. It's vast and eternal. And in that stillness, you can sense the same truth the universe whispers, that from nothing, everything can begin again. Because maybe in the deepest way, nothingness is not the opposite of existence, but its heartbeat. Before there were galaxies, before light, before even time itself, there was a silence so deep, so complete, that no word, no sound, no measure could describe it. And then something happened. Not a noise, not a flash in the usual sense, but a quiet unfolding, the universe awakening from stillness. We call it the Big Bang, though that name is almost misleading. It wasn't a single explosion in space. It was space stretching, growing, coming alive. In that first instant, less than a trillionth of a second, the universe expanded faster than light, swelling from smaller than an atom to larger than a galaxy. Energy surged, matter began to take form, and the cosmic clock began its slow, endless ticking. Imagine the whole of everything you know compressed into a point too small to see. Every mountain, every ocean, every future thought, folded together, waiting for permission to exist. And then the permission was granted. The laws of physics, gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces, awoke like instruments tuning for a grand symphony. Heat beyond imagination filled this newborn cosmos. Temperatures so intense that atoms could not yet form. Only raw energy, swirling and pulsing, like the breath of creation itself. After a mere few minutes, the first elements appeared: hydrogen, helium, a trace of lithium. Simple, quiet beginnings, yet they would one day become stars, planets, and people. As the universe expanded, it cooled. Light could finally move freely, and that ancient light, the cosmic microwave background, still whispers across the sky today. A faint afterglow of the moment, everything began. So when you look at the night sky and see the pale shimmer of starlight, you're looking back in time, seeing the echo of that first flicker of being. The universe was born in brilliance, but also in perfect balance. Too much energy and matter could never have formed. Too little, and it would have collapsed before stars ever burned. It's as if creation itself knew how to breathe, how to take that first, delicate step from potential to presence. And in that moment, the great story of everything began. As the newborn universe stretched and cooled, patterns began to appear, ripples of energy, tiny differences in density that would one day become galaxies, stars, and clusters of worlds. Imagine the surface of a calm lake and the soft ripples that spread when a single drop falls. Those ripples in the early cosmos were the seeds of everything that now fills the night sky. Over hundreds of millions of years, gravity began its patient work. Hydrogen and helium clouds gathered together, pulled by their own invisible attraction. In the heart of these clouds, pressure and heat built up until atoms fused and the first stars were born. Their light pierced the cosmic darkness, filling the universe with radiance for the first time. These stars were enormous, giants burning fast and bright, their lives short but powerful. When they died, they did so spectacularly, exploding as supernovae, scattering heavy elements into the surrounding space. From those ashes came materials for new generations of stars, and for planets and for life. The galaxies began to spin, vast spirals of light, billions of suns orbiting invisible centers. Our own Milky Way took shape this way, a graceful swirl in the dark sea of space. And somewhere, far later in the story, a small star formed on one of its arms. Our sun, around it gathered dust and gas, coalescing into planets, moons, and asteroids. Among them, a small blue world, wrapped in air and water, earth, all of it, every grain of sand, every drop of rain, every living thing traces its ancestry to that first cosmic birth. You, sitting quietly now, breathing softly, are made of the remnants of those ancient stars. As the astronomer Carl Sagan once said, we are a way for the universe to know itself. And perhaps that's true, that through eyes like yours, the universe looks back at its own beginning and remembers the birth of the universe wasn't a single event long ago. It's an ongoing unfolding, a continuous act of becoming. Every second, new stars are forming, new worlds are emerging, new possibilities are being born from the same ancient laws. So when you gaze upward tonight, remember, the creation is not finished. It's still happening, quietly, everywhere all the time. Now, let's drift to the edge of wonder once more. Scientists still ask, what caused the Big Bang? What existed before the universe began expanding? Some say there was no before, because time itself began in that instant, before the Big Bang. There was no earlier to speak of, only a timeless state, pure potential. Others suggest a universe, maybe one bubble, in a vast multiverse, an ocean of countless universes, each with its own laws, its own beginnings, its own versions of reality. In that endless ocean, our universe might simply be one ripple, but to us, it is everything. The truth is, no one yet knows exactly how the universe was born, but maybe that mystery is part of the beauty, because uncertainty leaves room for wonder, and wonder is what keeps us looking up. The ancient myths of many cultures, also told stories of beginnings, of light emerging from chaos, of gods singing the world into being, of a cosmic egg that cracked open to release creation. Different words, different symbols, but the same longing to explain how something could rise from nothing. And in a way, modern science and ancient myth are not so different in spirit. Both are songs about beginnings, about the awe we feel when faced with existence itself. When we trace back time, through stars, through atoms, through every cause and effect, we eventually reach a wall, a boundary beyond which our understanding cannot yet pass. And beyond that wall lies silence. Whatever the truth may be, one thing remains certain. Everything you see, everything you are, emerged from that first flicker of light. And even now, billions of years later, that light still travels, crossing galaxies, touching worlds, and softly falling upon your face when you look up at the night sky. So the birth of the universe is not just a story of physics. It's a story of you, of me, of everything that has ever existed, and everything that ever will. We are still living inside that first moment, the afterglow of creation itself. And when you feel small beneath the stars, remember this: you are not apart from the universe. You are the universe, aware of its own beginning. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the smallest thing you can think of, smaller than a grain of sand, smaller than a speck of dust, smaller even than the particles that make up atoms. Now, imagine going smaller still, into a world where the rules of common sense no longer apply, where things don't move in straight lines, where time itself begins to blur, and where reality is never truly still. This is the quantum world, the foundation beneath everything that exists. It's a place not of solid certainty, but of shimmering possibility. At this scale, the universe behaves more like a dream than a machine. Particles appear and then vanish. Energy ripples out of nowhere and then quietly fades again. Everything is in motion, even when it looks completely still. Physicists call this strange restlessness quantum fluctuation, tiny bursts of energy that pop in and out of existence, like whispers of being, that arise from the silence of nothingness. It might sound impossible, but experiments have confirmed it again and again. The vacuum, the supposed empty space between particles, isn't empty at all. It hums softly with invisible activity. Virtual particles emerge, exist for the briefest flicker of time, then annihilate each other, leaving behind a trace, a faint memory that they were ever there. It's as though the universe itself can't bear to be completely still. Even in its quietest corners, there is always movement, always change, always potential. Some physicists describe it beautifully. That emptiness is never truly nothing. It is a restless sea of probability, a quantum ocean where creation and destruction dance together in endless balance. And perhaps this is how something first came to be, from a perfect stillness. A small ripple, a fluctuation, could have sparked the birth of time, the birth of matter, the birth of everything. As we breathe slowly, let's imagine that each of us, every atom in our bodies, was once part of that first, quiet ripple, born from the restless breath of the void. Now let's drift even deeper, into the strange sea of uncertainty. In our everyday world, we expect things to follow patterns. A ball rolls down a hill. A drop of rain falls to ground. Cause and effect seem natural, predictable, dependable. But in the quantum realm, the universe becomes wild, free, and unpredictable. Here, the tiniest events, whether an electron moves left or right, cannot be predicted with certainty. Only probabilities exist. It's as though the universe rolls dice, at every instant, deciding moment by moment what reality will be. This is quantum randomness. And it's not a flaw, it's a feature. Without it, atoms couldn't form, stars couldn't ignite, life could never evolve. Every random flicker at the smallest scales creates diversity, variety, and the possibility of change. You might think randomness sounds chaotic, but in truth, it's the quiet heartbeat of creation. It ensures that the universe never repeats itself, that every snowflake, every thought, every life is beautifully, wonderfully unique. Think of a candle flame, constantly moving, flickering, never the same shape twice. That gentle motion is what keeps it alive. And so, too, the universe flickers with randomness to keep existence ever fresh, ever renewing. Physicists like Heisenberg try to describe this mystery in the uncertainty principle, the idea that you can never know both, the position and the momentum of a particle perfectly. The more clearly you see one, the more the other slips away into uncertainty. It's as though nature is telling us some secrets are meant to remain hidden. That mystery, that unpredictability, is not a mistake. It's the rhythm of reality itself. And in that rhythm, there's a strange comfort, because randomness means freedom. Freedom for stars to form, for galaxies to spiral, for consciousness to awaken. Maybe that's why the universe feels alive, because beneath all order, there's always a gentle pulse of the unknown, guiding everything toward new forms of being. Now let's step back and look at the bigger picture. If the universe began with a single fluctuation, a momentary spark from the quiet sea of nothingness, then perhaps everything that exists today is the echo of that first quantum breath. Imagine space itself, billowing gently as energy appeared from the void, folding, expanding, giving rise to time and matter. That first moment, tiny, fragile, almost imperceptible, might have grown into all we see today. Galaxies, stars, planets, and eventually you, sitting here listening, made of those same quantum ripples. Some scientists believe that even now, quantum fluctuations continue to shape our cosmos. The shimmering of particles, the motion of fields, the birth and death of stars, all of it guided by that deep, unseen randomness, woven into the fabric of reality. It's as though the universe is constantly dreaming itself into being. Even your thoughts, your heartbeat, the soft rhythm of your breath, are echoes of that same creative uncertainty. There's a strange poetry in this. Every time you breathe, you participate in the same pattern that drives galaxies to spin. Every cell in your body is born from energy that once flickered out of nothing. The philosopher Alan Watts once said, "You are the aperture through which the universe looks at itself." And perhaps, through your awareness, the universe experiences its own wonder, the miracle of existence arising from uncertainty. So, what began as randomness became harmony. What began as fluctuation became form. And what began as nothing became you in the quiet, beneath all the noise of daily life. This truth still hums softly, that existence is not static, but fluid, alive, constantly blooming from the invisible. So as you drift toward rest, imagine the whole cosmos breathing with you. Each inhale a moment of creation, each exhale a return to stillness, because deep beneath everything, beyond every atom, every law, every thought, the universe continues to whisper through the soft pulse of quantum fluctuation, and in that gentle hum is the secret of why anything exists at all. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing before a mirror. You look into it and see yourself reflected back. Every motion you make perfectly mirrored, every detail reversed, but familiar. Now, imagine that this mirror isn't made of glass, but of the universe itself. Everything that exists, every particle of matter, has a reflection, a twin known as antimatter. When physicists first discovered antimatter, they found something astonishing. For every particle that makes up you, every electron, every proton, every neutron, there exists another particle, identical in mass, but opposite in charge. The electron has a partner called a positron, a version of itself, but carrying positive charge instead of negative. The proton has the antiproton. The neutron has the antineutron. It's as if the universe, in its first heartbeat, wove itself together using symmetry, a perfect balance between being and its reflection. In those earliest moments after the Big Bang, energy condensed into particles of matter and antimatter, appearing in equal numbers. Every time one particle was born, its opposite appeared beside it, perfect twins, locked in cosmic harmony. But there was a problem. Whenever matter and antimatter meet, they annihilate each other, disappearing in a flash of pure energy, a kind of cosmic unmaking. If the universe truly created both equally, then logic tells us everything should have canceled out. Every particle should have found its mirror, and the universe should have ended in a brilliant moment of light, leaving behind nothing but silence. And yet, here we are. You exist. I exist. The stars shine above us. Somehow matter won. Just a tiny imbalance. For every billion antimatter particles that existed, there were 1 billion and 1 matter particles. That single extra particle out of a billion survived the great annihilation. And from those survivors came everything. Every galaxy, every planet, every heartbeat. All because of the slightest tilt in the cosmic scale of balance. It's humbling, isn't it? That all of existence, everything we know and love, depends on the faintest whisper of asymmetry in an otherwise perfect mirror. Now, let's drift deeper into this mystery, into the delicate question of why. The universe preferred matter, just slightly more. Physicists have searched for answers in the most precise experiments ever built, inside giant underground accelerators. They smash particles together to recreate the first moments of creation. They watch, measure, and listen to the whispers of symmetry breaking. And what they find is subtle, almost poetic. Nature, it seems, doesn't treat matter and antimatter exactly the same. There is something called CP violation, a faint bias, a quiet preference in the laws of physics. That causes matter to behave just a little differently from its mirror twin. This violation is incredibly small, so small that it barely exists, but that tiny difference was enough to tip the cosmic balance. You could think of it as a slight lean in the universe's foundation, so small you might never notice it, and yet strong enough to decide that stars, galaxies, and people would exist. It's as though the universe, at the moment of its birth, made a quiet choice to keep a little more something than nothing. Some scientists call this imbalance the cosmic blessing. because without it, existence itself could not have unfolded. Imagine it for a moment. If the universe had been perfectly symmetrical, everything would have vanished. In an instant of pure light, no time, no atoms, no sky, but instead, the universe allowed a slight imperfection, and that imperfection became the seed of reality. There's something beautiful in that idea. That perfection is not always the goal. That life and existence itself are born from a touch of imbalance, a gentle asymmetry, woven into the heart of creation. Even within you, this truth continues. Your body's molecules, the carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen, were forged in stars that only existed because matter triumphed ever so slightly over antimatter. Every breath you take is proof of that ancient cosmic choice, a breath that almost never could have been. So perhaps the message hidden here is simple. Even the universe was shaped by imperfection, and in that imperfection, it found beauty, diversity, and life. Now, let's wander into the quiet aftermath of that first cosmic conflict. When matter and antimatter met, they vanished, turning into bursts of pure energy, gamma rays echoing through space. For a long time, the universe was filled with light, a glowing ocean of energy, shining with the memory of everything that had just been undone. From that glow, the survivors, those extra matter particles, slowly cooled, joined together, and began to form the first atoms. The universe transformed from chaos to calm, from pure energy to gentle form. Even now, traces of that ancient annihilation linger in the cosmic microwave background, the faint radiation that fills the sky like a soft, eternal whisper. When you look up at the stars, you're seeing what remained. After that great balance was broken, every atom of your body is a relic of the fraction that survived, a tiny remainder of what could have been erased. But the dance of matter and antimatter didn't end there. Even today, in the high skies above Earth, cosmic rays collide and create fleeting pairs of matter and antimatter. They exist for mere instants, then vanish again. The universe still remembers its old rhythm, and maybe that's the deeper truth, that existence and non-existence are not enemies, but partners in a timeless dance. Where there is creation, there must also be destruction. Where there is being, there is also unbeing. Together, they keep the cosmos balanced, alive and ever-changing. So when you breathe in and breathe out, you too are part of that rhythm. The inhale of matter, the exhale of its opposite, the cycle of appearance and disappearance. That defines all things. Perhaps the story of matter and antimatter teaches us something profound. That existence isn't about defeating nothingness, but coexisting with it. It's about the gentle balance between creation and erasure, between symmetry and asymmetry, between the mirror and its reflection. And somewhere in that balance, life finds its place. So as you lie back now and let your thoughts drift like soft particles in space, remember that you, too, are part of that ancient balance, born from the tiniest unevenness in a perfect universe. You are the extra heartbeat of matter, the universe's quiet remainder, the small spark that survived the storm. And maybe that is all existence ever wanted, to see itself through you. Imagine for a moment that the universe could speak, not with words or voices or sounds, but through patterns, through motion, through rhythm, through laws that never break. Everywhere you look, from the spiral of galaxies to the curl of a seashell, to the pattern of waves meeting the shore, there's a quiet, mathematical harmony beneath it all. Physicists call these harmonies the laws of physics. They are not rules imposed from above, but gentle patterns woven into the very fabric of reality. They are how the universe expresses itself. Think about gravity for a moment. It's not a force that pulls or pushes with visible strings. It's the whisper between masses, a mutual understanding between stars, planets, and dust. Every particle, no matter how small, feels this conversation and moves accordingly. In that silent communication, we find order. Planets trace perfect ellipses around their stars. Moons circle in endless calm. Galaxies dance in spirals that echo across billions of years. And yet, this order is not rigid. It breathes. It allows change, evolution, creativity. The laws of physics do not trap the universe. They guide it, like the soft current of a river. They shape the flow of existence, while allowing infinite variation within their bounds. When we look closer, deep into the realm of quantum fields, or out across the grand cosmic web, we see the same language repeating itself. The same patterns scale from the smallest particle to the largest galaxy. Physicists like Einstein, Maxwell, and Newton spent lifetimes listening to this cosmic grammar, trying to decode the rules behind the poetry. And yet, even after centuries of discovery, the mystery remains. Why should the universe have laws at all? Why should reality follow patterns instead of dissolving into chaos? Maybe these patterns are the way. The universe maintains its own awareness, a kind of order that allows consciousness, life, and beauty to emerge. When you gaze at the night sky, you're not just seeing stars. You're seeing equations written in starlight. You're watching the poetry of physics unfold. And somehow, without effort, you understand it. You feel it, because you, too, are made of that same order. Your heartbeat follows rhythm. Your breathing follows cycles. Your mind seeks symmetry. You are one of the patterns through which the universe expresses its harmony. Now, imagine the universe in its first instant, newborn, wild, and chaotic. Energy everywhere swirling, colliding, expanding. And then slowly from the chaos, patterns begin to appear. The first atoms form. Hydrogen becomes helium. Gravity gathers clouds of gas into stars. Stars forge elements in their fiery cores. Planets emerge. And somewhere on a quiet blue world, life begins to wonder why. This emergence of order from chaos is one of the great miracles of existence. It's as though the universe knows how to balance itself, how to shape disorder into meaning. This self-organization happens everywhere. In a snowflake forming from vapor, in lightning finding its path through the air, in the folding of a single DNA molecule that will one day become a living being. All of these patterns, from the geometry of crystals to the orbit of moons, obey the same gentle mathematics. They all arise from simple principles that ripple outward to create infinite beauty. And yet, within that order, there's still room for randomness. The laws of physics are not cold or mechanical. They are flexible, forgiving, alive. They allow for creativity, for surprises, for new forms to appear. This delicate interplay between chaos and order is what makes existence possible. If the universe were too rigid, nothing could change. If it were too chaotic, nothing could endure. But in balance, between predictability and uncertainty. Life blossoms. Even in your own body, this balance is constant. Your cells follow strict chemical laws, and yet within them, countless unpredictable events occur each second. Together, these opposing forces create harmony, a living pattern that sustains your being. Perhaps this is what the laws of physics really are, not commandments carved into the void, but relationships, conversations between energy and form, between stillness and motion, between what is known and what is possible. Let's step back now and listen to the music of existence itself. Imagine the entire universe as one vast orchestra. Each law of physics is an instrument. Gravity provides a deep, resonant bass. Electromagnetism sings the melody. Quantum mechanics adds a delicate, unpredictable harmonies. Together, they play a cosmic symphony, a song that began with the Big Bang and has never stopped playing. Every star, every atom, every heartbeat is part of that music. And somehow, you are not just a listener. You are part of the song. The same laws that govern galaxies also shape your thoughts. The same energy that fuels the sun moves through the cells of your body. The same forces that hold the cosmos together hold you together. It's easy to forget sometimes that these laws are not just distant equations. They are the threads that weave your very being. When you drop a pebble into water, the ripples expand outward in perfect circles. That, too, is physics. When sunlight scatters into a rainbow, when a bird glides through the air, when your heart beats in rhythm, that is physics expressing itself as beauty. And when you look at the night sky and feel a strange sense of peace, that, too, is part of the pattern, your consciousness resonating with the laws that gave birth to it. Einstein once said, "The most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible." That means it is astonishing that we, small fragments of stardust, can look out and understand the language that wrote us into being. Maybe that's the greatest mystery of all, that the universe not only follows patterns, but has created within itself minds that can perceive them. You, listening to these words now, are the universe becoming aware of its own laws. You are the cosmos, studying its own reflection. So as you breathe deeply and let your thoughts drift with the stars, remember, the laws of physics are not outside of you. They are you. Every particle in your body obeys them in perfect silence. Every moment of your life. And in that perfect silence, the universe continues its endless symphony. Calm, ordered, timeless. So, tonight, as you close your eyes and rest in the soft glow of existence, know that you are part of that eternal rhythm. A single beautiful note in the infinite music of being. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a universe before there was awareness, before there were eyes to see or minds to wonder. There were stars and galaxies. Yes, rivers of light flowing across the dark, but no one had noticed them. No one had asked, why does anything exist at all? Then, slowly, over billions of years, something changed. Amid the quiet hum of creation, atoms began to combine into more complex forms. Molecules began to organize. Cells began to live. And somewhere deep in this growing sea of life, awareness flickered into being. At first, perhaps it was simple, just a faint sense of light and dark, warmth and cold. But over time, that tiny spark of perception grew brighter. It evolved into curiosity. memory, emotion, and thought. And eventually, it looked up at the stars and realized it was the universe thinking about itself. You, right now, listening softly to these words, are that very miracle. You are consciousness, the awareness of being, the quiet witness to the unfolding story of reality. The universe had existed for billions of years before you opened your eyes, and yet, without consciousness, there was no experience of it, no beauty, no wonder, no meaning. Consciousness is the mirror through which existence sees itself. Without it, everything might still be there, but unseen, unappreciated, like a dream unremembered. Scientists have tried for centuries to understand what consciousness truly is. Is it merely the product of neurons firing in your brain, or is it something deeper, something woven into the very structure of the cosmos itself? Some theories suggest that consciousness arises from complexity, that once matter organizes itself in a certain way, awareness emerges, like music emerging from an instrument. Others suggest the opposite, that consciousness is fundamental, that it has always existed, and matter merely shapes the ways it can express itself. Perhaps both are true. Perhaps consciousness is not a thing the universe has, but something it is, a silent ocean of awareness, within which galaxies, stars, and even thoughts are gentle ripples. In that way, you are not apart from the cosmos. You are the cosmos, awakened, a fragment of infinite awareness, experiencing itself through human eyes. When you think about your own mind, it feels familiar, a stream of thoughts, feelings, and sensations. But if you try to find it, to locate where consciousness is, you quickly realize how mysterious it truly is. Neuroscience tells us that the brain is made of billions of neurons, each sending tiny electrical pulses to its neighbors, and somehow, from this storm of signals, emerges a calm, unified sense of I am. It's astonishing. How can a collection of atoms generate awareness? How can physical matter dream, feel, imagine, and wonder? Many scientists call this the hard problem of consciousness, the mystery of how subjective experience emerges from physical processes. Imagine, for example, a sunset. Your eyes capture photons, tiny packets of light that trigger electrical impulses in your brain. But the experience of that sunset, the warmth of its glow, the softness of its colors, the calm it brings to your heart, those are not mere electrical patterns. They are something else entirely. They belong to the inner world, the silent theater, where the outer universe is reflected. Some physicists and philosophers now believe that consciousness might not just arise from matter, but instead that it is woven into the fabric of existence itself, a universal field of awareness, of which our individual minds are small, localized expressions, like waves on an ocean, each one separate, yet all connected beneath the surface. This idea, called panpsychism by some, suggests that consciousness is as fundamental as space, time, or energy. Every particle, every atom may contain a tiny glimmer of awareness. That doesn't mean that stones can think or that electrons dream, but perhaps in some subtle way, every part of reality participates in the grand field of knowing. And as matter becomes more complex, as it learns to reflect, to sense, to process, awareness becomes richer, deeper, more self-aware. This might be why the universe created minds like yours to experience itself. From within, think about it. When you feel awe, when you pause to admire beauty, when you wonder about your place in the cosmos, you are consciousness, marveling at consciousness, the universe, in love with its own mystery. In that sense, every act of awareness is sacred. Every moment you notice something, a sound, a thought, a memory, you are helping the cosmos to remember itself. Now let's go even deeper, beyond the brain, beyond theories and science. Let's look at consciousness as experience itself. Close your eyes and feel the gentle rhythm of your breathing. Notice how thoughts drift through your mind, like clouds across a quiet sky. Notice the sensations in your hands, the feeling of the air on your skin, the faint echo of your own heartbeat. All of that, everything you can notice, appears within awareness. But awareness itself remains still, untouched, timeless. It's the silent stage upon which the play of existence unfolds. And it's always here. Even when you're lost in thought, even when you're asleep, the background awareness remains. Steady, patient, observing. In the same way, the universe might also have its own awareness, not in a human sense, but as a deep, abiding knowingness that pervades all things. Perhaps consciousness is the link between the physical and the infinite, the bridge that connects matter and meaning, energy and emotion, existence and experience. It's like a mirror. When the mirror is still, it reflects the world perfectly. When it trembles, the reflection blurs. But the mirror itself, the awareness, remains unchanged. When you calm your mind, you begin to sense that stillness, that silent field of being, that holds every thought, every sound, every dream. That stillness is not inside you. You are inside it. You are the awareness through which the universe knows it exists. You are the eyes, the senses, the wonder of reality itself. So when you look out at the stars and feel that quiet connection, that moment of infinite peace, know that the universe is looking back at you, because in truth, there is no separation. Consciousness and existence are two sides of the same mystery. They arise together. They depend on each other. Without matter, there is no form. Without consciousness, there is no experience. Together, they create the miracle of being. So tonight, as you rest and your thoughts grow slow and soft, remember this. You are not merely in the universe. You are the universe, awake, aware, and dreaming of itself. Let that thought drift gently through you, like a feather floating on a calm sea, and feel the quiet truth that everything, every atom, every heartbeat, every thought is part of one vast, unbroken consciousness that simply is. The question, why does anything exist, is not a new one. It's one of the oldest, most enduring questions ever whispered beneath the stars. Long before telescopes, long before science, long before even language itself, humans gazed at the night sky and felt that same quiet wonder. They must have looked at the moon, felt the pull of tides, the warmth of fire, the breath of wind, and thought, what is this? Why am I here? What is existence itself? Philosophy, in many ways, began with that question. It is the oldest form of bedtime curiosity, a deep, dreamlike wonder about what it means to be. Thousands of years ago, the first philosophers in ancient Greece and India and China began trying to put the mystery into words. They looked for an origin, a reason, a principle behind everything. In Greece, thinkers like Parmenides believed that being, the simple fact of existence, was eternal and unchanging. He said that what is, and that nothing truly comes from nothing. In his view, existence had always been here, and change was merely an illusion of perception. But others disagreed. Heraclitus, for example, saw the universe as constant change, a river that never stays still, a dance of fire that both creates and destroys. For him, the essence of being was transformation. Later, Plato imagined two worlds, one of perfect, eternal forms, and another of imperfect shadows. He believed that the reality we see is but a reflection of deeper truth, a world of pure ideas that never decay. Aristotle, his student, disagreed again. He saw being not as an abstract idea, but as a dynamic unfolding, a potential that seeks to become actual. To Aristotle, everything in the universe is striving towards purpose, its natural fulfillment. It's why, meanwhile, in India, ancient sages spoke of Brahman, the ultimate reality beyond form, beyond birth and death, beyond all dualities. They said that the universe itself is a single, boundless consciousness, dreaming infinite worlds, and that within every being, that same reality, Atman, lives quietly, waiting to be remembered. In China, philosophers like Lao Tzu spoke of the Tao, the way, not a god, not a law, but the effortless flow of existence itself. The Tao is what happens when water flows, when clouds drift, when stars are born. It is being, without effort, without reason, simply being. Through all these voices, across continents and millennia, one truth echoes gently. That existence itself is the ultimate mystery. No matter how deeply we think, we never quite reach its edge. But still we try, because deep down, we feel that to understand being is to understand ourselves. As the centuries passed, philosophy grew alongside science. New ways of thinking began to take shape, ways that tried to blend observation with introspection. In the 17th century, a man named René Descartes sat alone by candlelight and doubted everything he could, the world, his senses, his beliefs. He questioned them all until he found one thing he could not doubt. I think, therefore I am. It was a quiet realization that consciousness itself is proof of being, that even if everything else is illusion, the fact that we are aware means that something, at least awareness, must exist. This simple idea shaped centuries of thought. It reminded us that existence is not only out there in the stars and atoms, but also in here, in the silent presence of the observer. Later came Immanuel Kant, who believed that reality is shaped by the mind's own structure, that space, time, and causality are ways we interpret the world, not necessarily how the world truly is. In other words, we do not see things as they are. We see them as our minds allow us to. Then, in the 19th century, thinkers like Schopenhauer and Nietzsche turned their gaze inward toward the will, the driving force of existence. Schopenhauer saw life as a restless striving, a cosmic will to exist that gives rise to all things, even at the cost of suffering. Nietzsche, on the other hand, embraced the creative side of this will. He believed that life itself was an act of artistic expression, a dance between chaos and order, light and shadow. To him, meaning was not something the universe gives us, but something we create. We are the artists of our own existence. In the 20th century, the question of being became more urgent than ever. After 2 world wars, philosophers began to ask not only why we exist, but how to live meaningfully in a universe that offers no clear answers. Existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus said that the universe might be silent, but we are free to give it a voice. They said existence comes before meaning, that we are born first, and only then do we create purpose. Camus imagined life as a man, pushing a boulder up a hill forever, a symbol of human struggle. But instead of despair, he found beauty in the act itself. He said, one must imagine Sisyphus happy, because maybe the purpose of life is not hidden somewhere out there, but found in the simple act of continuing, of existing, with awareness, with curiosity, with love. Now let's take a step back and breathe. All these ideas, ancient and modern, may seem different, but they all circle the same truth, that existence, in its quiet and mysterious way, is sacred simply because it is. You are here, right now, listening to words that exist as vibrations in the air or as pixels of light. But behind those sensations is something timeless, the simple fact of being. No philosophy can truly capture it. No equation can define it. And yet, you feel it in every moment. When you wake, when you breathe, when you see the world unfold around you, you are witnessing being in its purest form. The ancient Greeks called it the On. The Hindus called it Saturday. The Taoists called it the Way. All of them were pointing to the same silent presence, the same ocean, beneath the waves of thought and form. Perhaps the truest philosophy of being is not one that answers why, but one that teaches us to notice that we exist, that everything exists, that existence itself is a miracle. In your quietest moments, you might feel it, the still awareness beneath the noise, the calm knowing that you are part of something vast and eternal. Philosophy, at its heart, is not about conclusions. It is about deepening that awareness, about learning to live gently within the question, because maybe the point is not to solve the mystery of being, but to fall in love with it. When you realize that even the simplest moments become profound, a candle flickering in the dark, the rhythm of rain on a window, the warmth of your own breath, each of these things is an expression of being, a reminder that existence is not abstract, it's intimate, it's now, it's you. So as you rest tonight, and your thoughts drift like slow clouds, remember, you are part of the same mystery that philosophers, mystics, and dreamers have wondered about for thousands of years. You are being itself, temporarily shaped as a human life, briefly awake, in an infinite sea of existence. And in that realization, there is peace, not the peace of knowing, but the peace of being. Let it settle softly in your heart, like starlight fading into dawn, and rest in the quiet truth that you are, and that is enough. Before we begin, take a slow, deep breath, in and out. Let the air move softly through you, like a tide washing over the shore. Every breath you take is a quiet reminder of something incredible. You exist not just as an idea or a name or a collection of thoughts, but as a living, breathing moment in the vast story of the cosmos. When you pause to think about it, existence itself feels impossible. From the silence of nothingness, something began. From a sea of particles, atoms formed. From atoms, stars. From stars, planets. And from one small blue world, spinning in the dark, you are not separate from that story. You're that story, told in the language of life. Every cell in your body is the descendant of stardust, forged in the heart of ancient suns. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen you breathe, all were once part of the stars. So when you look up at the night sky and see those distant lights, know that you are looking at your own cosmic reflection. You are the universe, not just observing itself, but feeling itself. That feeling of awe, of peace, of wordless wonder is what makes being so beautiful. You don't need to understand it. You only need to feel it, because the truth is, existence isn't something to solve. It's something to experience. You exist not as a problem, but as a poem, not as an answer, but as a question, sung softly through time. When you let go of needing to know why, you begin to see the quiet perfection of what is, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the whisper of wind through leaves, the stillness between heartbeats, all of it just being. That is the wonder of existence, that there is something instead of nothing, and that within that something, there is you. Now imagine life itself as a great river. You were born into it, and from your first breath, you began to flow. Sometimes the water moves quickly, rushing with purpose, carrying you through days and years, and changes you can hardly keep up with. Other times, it slows, growing calm and reflective, moments when time seems to soften, and the world feels almost suspended in both currents, fast and slow. You are still part of the same river, still flowing, still existing. It can be easy to forget that. We spend so much time trying to reach somewhere, a goal, a dream, a meaning, a destination. But perhaps the beauty of life is not in the reaching, but in the flowing, to simply be within the stream of existence, not fighting against it, not clinging to the shore, but moving with it, gracefully, peacefully. The philosopher Alan Watts once said, "Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone." Sometimes, try and control every ripple only stirs more turbulence. But when you let go, when you trust the flow, the water clears, and you begin to see the light beneath the surface. That light is awareness, the gentle knowing that even when everything changes, you are still here. That's the secret of stillness. It's not the absence of motion, but the presence of calm within motion, just as the sky is never disturbed by the clouds that pass through it. Your being remains untouched by the storms of life. When you rest in that knowing, every moment becomes sacred. Every breath becomes a small act of wonder. You begin to see that existence is not about doing or achieving or owning. It's about being awake to what already is, the feeling of your heartbeat, the scent of rain, the sound of your own breathing. These simple things are miracles of existence, each one a quiet celebration of being alive. As we reach the end of this long journey, let's return to the beginning, to the first question we asked: why does anything exist at all? After exploring science, philosophy, and consciousness, perhaps the simplest answer is also the most beautiful one. Maybe things exist because existence is its own joy, because the universe, in some silent way, likes to be maybe everything, from galaxies to grass, from atoms to eyes, is an expression of that quiet joy, unfolding in infinite forms. And you, listening now, are part of that unfolding. Existence moves through you, like music through an instrument. You are not separate from it. You are how it sings. You don't need to strive to deserve this miracle. You don't need to prove. You belong here. You already do. Right now, in this moment, you are part of everything, connected to the air you breathe, the stars above you, the silence between each word. Existence doesn't ask you to be perfect. It only asks you to be present. So take another slow breath and let yourself feel the wonder of simply being alive. Feel the rhythm of your body, a symphony of cells, working in harmony, without effort. Feel the quiet awareness behind your thoughts, the watcher that never changes, even as everything else does. And realize that awareness is existence. It is the light through which the world appears. When you rest in that light, peace flows through you naturally, not the peace of answers, but the peace of understanding that you don't need any. The universe is vast beyond measure, filled with endless questions. But in this single, quiet moment, the answer is simple. You are here, and that is enough. So, as you drift now into rest, into stillness, into that gentle space between waking and dreaming, let yourself feel the comfort of being part of something infinite. You are stardust that learned to wonder. You are consciousness that learned to feel. You are existence itself. Taking a deep, quiet breath. Good night, dear listener, and may your dreams be soft, peaceful, and filled with the quiet light of simply being. Good night and goodbye.